What's good, family? Big shout out to my doggy general Lewis Perkins for running up your man the YB's coins, no doubt. Now, on to today's topic. Team Tyson Fury have aired out some super duper secret confidential details regarding why Dillian White has been really punked by the WBC. Now, listen, if let me tell you, Dillian White fan, something right now. Yeah, I suggest you man sign off on this video because when you hear this leaked info, you're gonna be big mad. Yeah, trust me. You best believe Sporting Silicons won't be running this story. Yeah, that's what he won't be running. How about that? So here we go then. Now again, like I said, this exclusive leak comes from Team Fury, and they've said the following. First of all, the purse bid has been pushed back by a week now. That was done on Saturday, so the purse bid will be 7 days after, so I think it's next Monday or Tuesday. As regarding the split, of course, they're entitled to an appeal. Dillian White is entitled to appeal. I don't think they'll get anywhere because the purse bids are based upon boxers' previous earnings. Tyson Fury's last purse that was lodged officially with the WBC was £20 million, and Dillian White's was 300k. Wow! That's why it's at this split. It's at a situation in the last year I can think of is when Alvarez fought against his mandatory at the time, Billy Ho Saunders, but Billy had just done a deal. There was no way he was going to get 45% of a purse because the guy who generates the most money out of the two of them was Alvarez. Certainly, when you've got a heavyweight generating the money that Tyson's generating, there's never going to be that kind of split. That is not something that's new. This has been the way for 25 years at least. Most of the organisations operate this way, and that is what it is. They can make their appeal. Nobody would, in any way, from our perspective, say that you can't do that. But the fact of the matter is, I don't think it will make a difference. Boom. Now, we've learned a few things here, and in fact, I told you, man, about this the other day. We know for a fact, yeah, when Alvarez did a deal with Caleb Plant, and he got a rematch clause, Alvarez had a rematch clause, and guess what? He paid Caleb Plant Pot 10 million. Meanwhile, he got paid 40, and that was from the PBC. So do the maths, people. What is 40 and 10? That's 20%. Oops. Plus, it was a man, and he had a rematch clause in there. So really, when you work it out, it worked out. Caleb Plant got less than 20%, and he was grateful for that as well. Now, I'm not saying, to be fair, Tyson Fury isn't an Alvarez, but it's all relative. Dillian White hasn't got a belt either. Oops. Yeah, Caleb Plantpot had a belt. Your man Dillian hasn't got a belt. Also Caleb Plantpot. So wait there. Caleb Plantpot takes less than 20% and essentially takes 20%. Well, not essentially. Caleb Plantpot takes 20% and gives a rematch clause, which obviously is worse for him. And he's jumping off the moon for that. And he's a champion. And he's undefeated. You got Dillian, who gets offered. Don't forget, people, Dillian White fans, they forget that the YB had already given Dillian White the best advice. I told him back when they were offering. Don't forget, like I said, you Dillian fans were too busy gassing up about, we want 55%, we want 70%. YB, he deserves 70% because he's been done so wrong. YB, he must have 90 trillion%. That's what you man was thinking about. Meanwhile, people living on Earth were saying, the YB, number one business advice, 100% confirmed. Yeah? I was saying, you got Fish Eyes Warren, Bob Arum, begging to give you 25%. They was begging to do that. Frank Warren didn't start at 20. They were saying, come to the table at 25 and let's try and get a deal done. And I said at the time, I bet if Dillian had gone there at the time, he could have squeezed 30 out. Oops. You man was too gassed talking about some mad numbers. 30% for a man who's got beat by everyone. Everyone's had to go on Dillian White. Come on, never had a belt. And you got other fighters who are undefeated, have belts, taking 20%, and giving rematch clauses. You man have got to get serious now. You really have. You got to fix up and get serious on this one. I mean, even Usyk, another fighter who's undefeated, he had a mandatory with AJ. He's taken 25%. Yeah? And he's undefeated. And people like to talk about how big Dillian had a big name. Come on. Yeah? Dillian's known for scamming Sky subscribers. That's it. When you actually look at the depth of his resume, he's never actually put on any A-star fights where you can say, well, this really was a banger of a fight. Don't get me wrong. If you put Dillian White in there with some D-level dude, he has no problem going life and death with him. Yeah? Don't get me wrong, listen. I'll never take that away from him. Yeah? I'll never take away from Dillian White the fact that he loves to go life and death with some random dude no one ever heard of. Rivas, for example. You're on the floor, you're having to peel yourself off the floor against a random dude. So yeah, is Dillian entertaining versus D-level fighters? Absolutely, but unfortunately, that don't increase your value. Yeah? Jumping on Sky pay-per-view and fighting some random dude and going life and death 50-50 with AJ's leftovers and getting whooped by Derek Chisora for 10 rounds until the ref stepped in to save you from Eddie Hearn. Come on now, let's go a spade here. Chisora was boxing Dillian White's head off in the second fight, and then Eddie Hearn sent the ref in and started taking off about 3 points in a fight. Big heavyweight fight, and you got a referee stepping in, doing him a favour. That's the facts as well. And I've always been of the opinion that, never mind the actual... In fact, no, scrap that. I was about to say, never mind the actual bottom line law, but in both cases, the bottom line law is supportive of 20%. But even outside of that, I like to look at things from a holistic, moral point of view. And holistically, morally, you ain't got a leg to stand on. Holistically, you should be grateful that you've been knocked out twice and you're getting a shot. That's what I think. Because really, if I was running the sport, guess what? Never mind no shot, you'd be getting in there with Joe Joyce for a shot. That's what I'll be doing right now. If I was in charge of the sport, I'd be ordering Dillian White versus Joe Joyce. Why? Because guess what? If I was running it, there wouldn't be no more free shots where you can just hang around fighting old dudes and get a shot. Now, that's not Dillian's fault, to be fair. Dillian is on the better side of things. He's not a complete hang around like a lot of people are. For example, Billy Ho Saunders, he just hang around the place and got the Alvarez shot. I don't think people should get big shots for doing nothing. I think Billy Ho should have been forced to fight Andrade or one of them ones. That's how the sport should be going, just like the UFC. Yeah, you have to fight someone to get the champion. You don't just get champion shots by hanging around and getting knocked out by old men like Dillian. Dillian should be in there with Joe Joyce now, and guess what? And to be fair, so should Usyk. I was saying that's the thing about me. I'm consistent. I was saying long before the AJ versus Usyk fight that Usyk should have been in there with Joyce to prove himself. Yeah, that's how it should be. These guys just hang around the place, but to be fair to Usyk was grateful. He was kind of grateful, but you know what I'm saying? He didn't try and do what Dillian's doing. Usyk, yeah, understood. And that's why I actually rate Usyk some more. Look at the perfect comparison. Usyk accepted 20-25%, yeah, and give a rematch clause, and he jumped at the chance. Dillian, who's not undefeated, what's wrong with this guy? Honestly, it's weird. I've never heard anything like it. Usyk is actually the best example, and in my opinion, at the time, yeah, Usyk was against all the odds. At the time, I would have bet that Usyk had a less chance of beating AJ than Dillian White did of beating Fury, if you know what I'm saying. Dillian, at that point in time, I would have bet had a better chance. But yet, Usyk was prepared to go in there and get stuck in and go and make his destiny. Now look at him. One of the biggest dudes in the sport of boxing. Because he earned it. He didn't beg for it. He didn't go in there asking for something he ain't never earned. Imagine that. Imagine if Usyk, yeah, had to turn around and said, I want 45% because I've been a... What? It's unbelievable. And now, you've seen the evidence. Fish Eyes Warren has leaked it. Tyson Fury lodged a £20 million check with the WBC. Dillian White was 300 grand. Yeah? Now, this is the thing, and this is the problem I've had, yeah? People may say, oh, YB, these numbers are wrong. Now, listen. The reason I'm going with these numbers is because guess what? I've heard Frank Warren and Team Fury give out a lot of numbers recently. Now, normally, if I hear numbers from one side, I'll say things like, well, they might be lying. However, what do we know? Team Dillian Dillian Shite have been silent. So in my mind, silence means confirmation. For example, if I hear someone say some numbers I know are fake, I'm going to come out and say, you're lying. Frank Warren, why are you saying 20 million when we both know it was 5 million? And Team Fury, this isn't the first time we've heard this. The narrative for the last month's been, Dillian got paid 300 grand and Fury got paid a lot more. And guess what? All we've heard Eddie Hearn say is, oh, well, we don't want to go into numbers. Well, that means he got paid 300 grand, doesn't it then? Think about it. If someone alleges I got paid 300 grand and it was more like 10 million, I'm going to say, what are you talking about? It's 10 million. You're miles off. Or even if you don't give a percent, well, scrap it. I'll just come with the facts, and that is the facts. I haven't heard no one say any differently. So I'm going with them. Until Eddie Hearn steps up and exposes it, that's the way it is, unfortunately. I'm going with 20 and 30k. 300k, sorry. So on that basis, they should be lucky it's not 90 and 5. I mean, seriously, yeah. 300k versus 20 million. That's like what? Well, 10% of 20 million is 2 million. And that would be 90 and 10. Literally, yeah, this works out, in my head, this works out 98.5 to 1.5%. So Dillian White, at 20%, is getting paid 10 times or 15 times more than he should be. He should be grateful. He should be chewing his arm off. Yeah? And if you don't like it, Eddie, I suggest you boost up your guarantees. Because you missed I don't know how much value. Yeah? You missed, Dillian White sells out the O2. Well, if you're selling out that many tickets, why is he down bad getting paid 300 grand? Now, people will argue things like, listen, bottom line, show the numbers. Just show the numbers. And listen, if it turns out, Frank Warren lied and it was really, and Dillian White has earned more, then I'll come on here and tell you, listen, Frank Warren lied. But the problem is, I haven't heard, there's been deafening silence from Team Dillian White. They haven't wanted to discuss numbers at any level. We keep hearing, that's Codswallop. Well, is it? How do we know? All we know is we're hearing numbers consistently from one team, and you down bad, quiet, like a church mouse, talking about how valuable Dillian is, but ain't showing the numbers. Just show the numbers. That's what I'll be doing right now. Yeah, I'll be showing the numbers. If my guy is such a big guy, I'll be out here saying, listen, my guy's the guy. He doing big numbers. Look at this. Look at that. Where's Eddie Hearn? Where's the look at this? Where's the look at that? We ain't looking nothing because you ain't say nothing. Yeah. Instead, you're pulling that typical confidential move. I'm not going to go into numbers. No, what you mean to say is you ain't got no numbers to go into. Yeah, but you're not going to go into numbers. You ain't got no numbers. Because listen, Eddie, to go into numbers, that means you actually have to have some. You ain't got none. You got 300k worth of numbers. So you've been exposed. Bottom line, yeah. And YB, you keep going on about. Listen, the reason I'm going on is because number one, this dude Dillian had me gassed for years, same as Johnston. People forget this. And that's the problem with a lot of you super fans. You think it works, but you think it doesn't work both ways. You think the YB can come on here and gas people up, and then when they step out of line, I'm just going to keep riding them. That's where you're wrong. YB's a turncoat. YB, you used to ride AJ and Dillian hard. Yeah, I did. But unfortunately, like I said, you don't get them levels of ratings. They come with a level of expectation. If I tell people you're Africanulese and you go in there and get whooped by a cruiserweight, if I tell people there ain't no way you can lose against a cruiserweight, you sucks, yeah? If I tell people that and you go in there and you flop on the floor on the ropes, what do you want me to do? I had some goofy tell me, YB, when you're wrong in a year, if and when you're wrong, I want you to... What? If and when I'm wrong, they will have done what they're supposed to have done. Do you understand? About if and when you're wrong, you want you to... What? Fix up. I'm not the one who's been inconsistent here. These guys have been inconsistent. You got Mr. Anthony Johnston, inconsistent, floppy looking, soft. You got Dillian the Shillian Shite, talking a whole bunch about how hard he is from Brixton. Gets his shot. Dillian won't never. I've said it before, but Dillian, I never heard, no word of a lie, for the last 3 years, all them days they were counting, did any of you hear Dillian the Shillian Shite say, I want my shot and I want my 45%? I never heard that. All I heard was, I want my shot. Yeah? Oh, man, it's institutional. It's institutionally against me. That's what you were saying. Okay, fair enough. I'm happy to go with that. You were saying Deontay Wilder and Tyson. You said you knocked Tyson Fury out in sparring, and Tyson Fury knows it. That's why he don't want it. Fair enough. I was there backing that. Now you get what you said you was talking for, and you're moving the goalpost. And it's not even just moving the goalpost. They're so far out from reality. Dillian, how can you be defeated and knocked out cold twice, have no belt, never have had a belt, never have beat no one A-level, and you want 50%? Come on, people! What's wrong with you lot? Seriously! You need to get Dillian the Shillian Shite schlong out your mouths and start thinking logically here. How can Tyson Fury is undefeated relatively... Well, yeah, either way, compared to Dillian the Shillian, he undefeated. He undefeated, number one. He got a belt, number two. And he's got an A-star win over Deontay Wilder, for what it's worth. Dillian doesn't have a Deontay Wilder kind of cat on there. Yeah, you don't have that. So, there's 3 points, which make it nowhere near 50-50. But you want to talk about 45%? And then to add insult to injury, it'd be one thing, yeah, seriously. Never mind all of the achievements I've just listed off. It'd be one thing, yeah, if Dillian was like some massive star, like McGregor. If he was a McGregor, you could kind of say, well, 40%. And that's the thing, even Tyson Fury himself took 40% against Wilder in the first fight, because he had no belt. But he was still undefeated, and he was still relatively a big name. I don't think Dillian White's the kind of name that Fury was back then, to be honest with you. I just don't. I just don't feel it like that. But anyway, listen. Frank Warren, he's still on Team Dillian Shite. Their appeal, Dillian is begging right now. Yeah? He ain't got no belief in himself, and the fact that you fans believe in him more than he believes in himself is shocking.